Welcome back. Riding cars, driving therapy. I'll explain. Kind of doing it right now. I had a passenger. I was driving her to the airport, and I threw out the question, "Hey, like, what do you miss about driving?" 'Cause she doesn't drive anymore, right? She told me a long story, and then she had a difficult time actually placing it. Independence and freedom and the convenience, all of that did kind of come up, but none of that hit the mark. None of that hit the mark because she wasn't a good driver. She explained to me that she wasn't a good driver, that she was a terrible driver, actually. She not really paying attention, stuff like that. She did actually prefer other people driving her around. However, she said that she loved getting in her car and just going for long drives. That's what she really missed. Like just driving around. No real destination, no real plan. She would just get in her car and go drive for a while, like no time limit or anything on it. And she actually just said, it was kind of like therapy. That was the phrase that first came out. She goes, I don't know what it was about it. And she was trying to explain, being in control of the car, it is something you have control over, sort of. She goes, but that's not really it, You kind of zone out when you. Well, let me put it this way. Like this morning, I left earlier than I should have. Normally, what I do now in my life is, fortunately, on the way to work, there's a place I can go fishing, and that's where I do my therapy. To be honest with you, the sounds of nature. It's quiet. The repetitiveness of throwing something in the water, and you're left alone with your thoughts, and you can kind of digest things while tasking, I guess you could say. It's not really paying attention to the fishing. I really don't care if I catch stuff. I'm just out there listening to the birds, feeling the wind, the air, breathing the air. Just, but as a teenager, and fortunately, I got my license. Thank you, mom and dad. I got my car. Thank you, mom and dad. I used to go on these, and just to explore the world, just to explore the new world that I had in a car, because your world expands. Because it's the same thing when you learn to walk as a baby, your world expands from crawling, and then you learn to run. Then you get a bicycle, and your world just opens up even more, and you can explore all these new things. And then when you get a car, the same thing happens. Now, like your world is huge. I mean, you can drive across the country, and people do that. I got one of those coming up again, going back to Victoria. Now, here's the thing: I drive professionally, of course, during the day for the most part, and been doing that now for a long time. Well, quite a long time now that I think about it. It's the longest thing I've been doing other than my trade, to be honest with you. Anywho, with professional driving, there is a set of rules, parameters, and stuff that you have to. I'm not talking about road rules or anything like that. I'm saying there's time limits, there's things you got to do, there's always a destination, there's always something to pick up, there's a timeline, and that's always going through my head. It is. Oh, what time do I have? How much time do I have to go for lunch? How much time do I have to get gas? How much time before I pick up the next person? Which route do I got to take? How am I going to arrange the people in the bus? Um, all sorts of things going through your head while I'm doing my professional driving part, which I noticed is something that doesn't go through my head when I just go for drives. Now, as a teenager, back to me teen, when I got my car and I used to just go for these long drives, and it stopped becoming exploring. I would find roads and things that I liked to drive on for whatever reason. It could be a twisty thing, it could be just quiet, it could have leaves on it in the fall and you drive through the leaves and um, but I would make these routes kind of regular. I would disappear for hours and people would always wonder where I am and what I'm doing, sort of thing. And I would always say I went for a drive, and they'd look at me like I was retarded, like I'm lying to them, or you know, couldn't believe, right? And I would go missing for like 2, 3 hours. Like I'm serious. Like I would just go and drive, and I look back at that and I go, I couldn't explain it to people, and the reason why I really couldn't. Just like she had trouble explaining it, and for me, it was like meditation. It was a way to decompress. It was a way for me. I wouldn't sit there and organize thoughts. I would just have the thoughts and let them go. So I think it was quite literally a meditation experience. And when I got married and had kids and the big time crunch, and I still would do those drives, and my wife would go nuts. So I would just disappear because I couldn't say to people, "Hey, I'm just going to go for a drive," and then go be gone for 2 hours, blow a tank of gas, right? It didn't make any reasonable sense because I could not explain why I was going and why I was doing it. I could say, "Oh, I'm going to go play floor hockey. Oh, I'm going to go do Tai Chi. Oh, I'm going to go talk to a buddy. I'm going to go help him do his drywall or something." That stuff I could reasonably explain, and that stuff would be reasonably accepted by people. As a grown man with a wife and kids, saying, "I'm going for a drive," did not fly. Just like this morning, like I usually leave my house at about 5:30. I go fishing, then I go to the gym, and then I go to work. But this morning I'm doing kind of a different job where I'm driving, and I don't start till a little bit later. But I left the house a little bit later because I was tired. But I detoured. I'm not going directly to the job. I left enough time for me to just drive and look at things. Nothing in particular. And I caught myself doing that because I can't fish today. It's super rainy yesterday and today. And I actually went to go try fishing, and no. It's like ocean storm weather on the lake. Super windy, with 2 foot white caps, and I know I'm not fishing in this. When I left my house, it wasn't so windy and it wasn't so rainy, but I got to the lake and it was like, whew, no, this is not happening. So I just got in the car and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna drive around for a bit, look at stuff that I haven't seen before. And then I caught myself doing it, and then I thought of what this lady had said to me, and I turned on the camera and decided to talk about driving therapy. And I'm not the only one who does this. I know that. And if you're one of those people, hit the like button. Maybe even say something in the comments, because I like I like driving. Like, it used to be when I was a young teenager, I would take the time and I would find the roads, and then I would see how far I could push my limits with whatever car I was in, and my own limits, right? My own terror, my own fears, my own, to see how it was just fun doing it. It was just fun doing it in crappy cars, right? And it was fun and exciting, and I'd blow that off. I would get sick of doing that within that time limit, and then I would just drive around, and it would be calm, it would be peaceful, it would be like therapeutic, really. You know how when you go for a massage, and after the initial banter, and then it starts setting in, and then the massage therapist is working on your body, and then you're totally relaxing, and then you're even more relaxed, and your mind starts to disengage from reality and what's going on in the day. Like, you're not sitting there going through items of what's got to happen during the day, things like, and you're just kind of like, that's what this is like, right? That's what this is like, where you're just kind of, you're not numb, you're not anything, you're just at peace with yourself, at peace with the world, at peace with whatever's going on in your life, and a little bit of a recharge, maybe, or a little bit of, you know, stepping away from the chaos of what's going on. And I never really considered it driving therapy. I do know that when I can't drive, when I'm like locked in the house, or I can't go anywhere, or like I really get antsy. I get anxious. I get wound up. I get, I don't know. I guess you'd call it like cabin fever or whatever. Even though I'm around the house and go outside and do things, but when I can't go for a drive, I really noticed this during my marriage. Uh, I am not a happy person. I'm really not a happy person, and I don't think I'm the only one. I really am not, and I don't know if other people, even like me, didn't notice it. I'm sure there are some people. Write it in the comments, or hit the like button or whatever, to say, hey, yeah, I noticed this a long time ago, when I found out blah 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 blah, or hey, you know I've been doing the same thing. I really couldn't put a finger on it, and thanks for saying that, sort of thing. Because I'm not a real car person, really. I, I'm interested in cars because I know what they can do for me, to put smiles on my face, sort of thing. Because I do like the spirited driving part of driving around, uh, which is why I actually mention all the time the interior of this car. It's not super grandiose, super grand or any, but I've sat in crappy cars. But I do like spending time on sitting in this car, looking at the interior of this car, having this interior of the car around me while I do my driving things, right? And and it all adds to that level of therapy. And I like this car because, well, you've heard it in the videos before. If you're new, Welcome to Driving Therapy with Ryan. And I'm glad you clicked on this video because it was a learning experience when my passengers started talking about it that way. I was keeping it level. I was keeping it. I don't know what you call it. I wasn't trying to get deep into any kind of talk or anything. I'm just maintaining a level of chit chat that because we do get along. You know, I've driven this customer around the most out of everybody. She's a total regular, right? And the drive that I was doing for her was a one-off special thing that it really isn't part of my actual job partner thing, right? So it was kind of a side job that I was doing for her. And I was happy to be able to do it for her. But especially for, yeah, she's paying me in all of this, but having that little talk there, and she was actually digging deep. She was digging deep to figure out what she missed about driving. And she found it. And as a result of her finding it, enlightened me. And because it enlightened me, I want to share it with everybody. Right? Which is why I'm making this video for you. Yes, you who clicked on this video. Long drives can be torturous. Like I got a long drive coming up. We're going back to the island and then we're driving back. And it's not a vacation. It's strictly pound it there, get some stuff, pound it back. And it's going to be on the busiest highways in Western Canada. It's going to be with the most traffic. It's going to be with people in a hurry. Our wits got to be about us because we're towing a trailer full of things again. And I remember the drive. We did this drive to come back to Alberta, and it was hard, but I still enjoyed it. Like we'd get out every couple of hours to just stand up and move around. So I can only go about 2 hours now in this car, in pretty much any car. We'll say that where I have to like actually pull over and stand up and move around. But we would get out every 2 hours and we'd always check. Are you tired? Because we're all driving and it's a straight drive through and it's a long drive. We're all old, so that's what we would do and check on each other and be like, no, and the idea was that, we were paired up in both vehicles and if we get too tired, we'd switch out. Like my daughter was driving with me and my parents were driving together and my dad drove the whole way pretty much. And I think he did switch out a couple of times with my mom. And I was pulling the big trailer. I was pulling the trailer, the big trailer, the trailer. And I kept checking on myself, like doing this. And I would get out of the car and they're like, how you doing? I feel I'm doing okay. How do you look okay. You look good. You don't look drowsy. You don't look anything like that. And you know, didn't do caffeine stuff. Didn't do anything like that. I was just actually enjoying driving the car through the mountains. We took the Canyon way. We didn't go the Coquihalla way. So, nice twisty road kept me engaged. You know, there were big trucks, but not as many as the Coquihalla. It wasn't as frantic as the Coquihalla. It was beautiful scenery. It was therapeutic, right? It was therapeutic. I think this time we're going back. It's just going to be the straight there, straight back on the Coquihalla. And I got to say, the Coquihalla is a nice drive. It is a little bit freaky. And I've driven it before a lot. And I prefer to stay off of it because it's really busy. And all the wacky wackos take that road. Like people who shouldn't be driving always take that road. and they get themselves and everybody else into trouble. So I try to not take the Coca-Cola, even though it is the quickest way. The Canyon Road is much better. It is a little bit longer, but it saves your sanity. It saves your stress levels. It does. It does. So we'll see how it goes. I'll make videos while I'm doing it, maybe. Okay, you guys can be a part of it. All right. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your viewership. Um, like button. Consider a subscribe if you're new. And oh yeah, the bell thing for notifications. I still gotta be putting this stuff at the beginning of the video. However, it's at the end. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.